Hey everybody! Last week I uploaded a video kind of doing an overview, or a brief overview of my current status for my Musketeer. So I decided I wanted to do the same thing for my Buccaneer. I have all classes maxed out, and all classes I have to a certain degree of being complete. And I think my Buccaneer is fairly complete. There's definitely some gear I could go for, the cane gear in particular, but I really like the gear that I do have on this guy. So I'll just go over my stats briefly before I get into the gear and start from there. So right now I'm at about a 107 strength, could be a little higher. I want it to be around 110 if I could. So if I can find any gear that gets that strength up and I don't sacrifice any damage, that'd be very great. I really do like Buccaneers. I think that this is a fun class to play with, and if you're new to the game, I fully recommend playing this class. It's very fun. It feels very piratey. If you're thinking of playing a pirate, this is the character you would think about playing. But moving on with the stats. Agility and will don't really matter. I think they probably do something. If you have stabby weapons, it's nice to have good agility. The good thing about Buccaneers and Swashbucklers in extension is you can wield pretty much any two-handed weapon or any weapon and do a lot of damage with it. So I would recommend getting like stabby weapons or something like that because as you can see, my weapon power is pretty high. So currently my origin is Mutiny, and that just gives you one of the companions, one of the Presidio companions. I think it's Dead Mike. Beyond that, there's also I am from Mushu, which gives me just 5 damage to my overall weapon power. I picked that for most of my characters. That's just the go-to that I stick with personally. I really like emphasizing damage. Sorry about that, my cat was bugging me. Going back onto that, I really like having or emphasizing damage on all of my characters. Well, some of my characters. My Privateer not so much, but everybody else I try to have high weapon power or high spell power, just high weapon power stats, just to make sure that I am the buffest guy that I can be, as you can tell by my name. So my weapon power is very high. I think it might be higher on my Buccaneer than it even is on my Swashbuckler, or they're right up there with each other. I can do a lot of damage to with this guy. So it's very, very fun class to play with. My accuracy and dodge are just at base. I'd probably go for more accuracy than anything, because most of your attacks that you get as a Buccaneer, you want to make sure that you hit a lot. But I guess that goes on with any class. Armor is pretty high. I'd like to keep it around 100 if I could, but I don't have a lot of access to armor right now. And 81 is still probably the highest I have on most of my characters. Privateer might be around that mark too. Magic resist doesn't really have much, but Buccaneers don't really get much gear that gives you more magic resist. Magic resist really isn't much of an issue here. The main purpose of a Buccaneer is to kind of just go. I'd say it's the opposite of a Musketeer. Musketeers like to hold back. They like to make sure the enemies come to them and they do damage before they even come to them. Buccaneers want to come to the enemies and do damage before the enemies can do damage to them. So it's a very aggressive class. So you really don't need very high magic resist. I say armor is the best, cause especially if you're going after stronger enemies. Armor is very good to have. My health is a base amount. Night Lord's Veil gives me a little bit of health, but on most of my characters I don't prioritize health because health is not really much of a necessity at this game. More having good stats and stuff like that gets you a lot further. My gold, crowns, they don't matter. These don't matter. Script could be a lot better, but I'm maxed out in all categories and everything like that. So I think that covers my main page. So let's go on to my gear. As you can see, I have a decent amount of stuff on this guy, a decent amount of stuff locked. So let's start with the hat. Now I have a couple hats going on here. Now this one was my old gear, so I should probably unlock that. But this was my old Stitch. That's one of my favorite Stitches. I don't really stitch most of my guys, but I really like this Stitch. So this was my old gear, but I finally got the level 70 version of the Backtoon Tusk, which gives 8 weapon power, 12 strength, and 13 base armor. I will use a lot of the Aztec, the tribal crew pack for my gear because I find this to be some of the best gear in the game, just for how I play. Some people prioritize weapon power and other stats along with it. I think that having weapon power and strength is very, very helpful to ensuring that you crit and you can do the most damage possible. And that's how I like to play this game. A lot of people like to prioritize powers and stuff like that. So if I found a piece of weapon that gave me decent a piece of gear that gave me decent weapon power and decent strength, or vice versa, and alongside a power or an attack, I would definitely go for it. But as of right now, I'm sticking with the Backtoon Tusk. I think it's a very strong choice to have for a hat. So I would definitely recommend that to anybody who wants it. I also, now moving on to my outfit, I currently have the Dux's Cataphract. I believe you can get this somewhere in Aquila. Some of the bosses in there drop it. And there's probably a much better, let me check my bank right now. There's probably a much better piece of gear out there. I want to see if I have it in here. My potential improvement. But I don't think I do. Yeah, no. I do have this one, which I probably could trade out to get more armor and a little bit more strength. But I like my current setup with the Dux's Cataphract. Yeah, so anyway, moving on. I think that most of my base gear is going to be around the weapon power, strength, and armor. At least for my Buccaneer. That's just how I prioritize it. Sometimes I will switch out for the Forza Field Jacket. Gives me a lot more armor than the one I have in my bank. Gives me a little bit less for the Triton's Chorus, but at least it's for the team. So I'll switch that out if I'm on like a boss that does a lot of damage and has a lot of armor or just attacks a lot. I will switch this out. So I'll probably put this jacket on for the Kane fight, where I don't need to do a whole lot of damage, but having defense would be definitely beneficial. Moving on to my boots, I currently have equipped the Backtoon Moccasins, the level 70. Gives me 8 weapon power, 12 strength, and 10 armor. Sometimes I will switch that out with the Cutthroat Brabantee Brogans, which I think you might get from the Kane fight. If not from the Kane fight, then maybe one of those tougher Valencia fights. This was my old pair, which I should definitely have that marked that way. I'll switch this out also in extension with the Kane fight or a tough fight. I'll go for that. But I would prefer the field jacket over the boots, purely because at least the field jacket gives you a lot more armor and some strength along with it, so your overall stats don't decline. But those are my main sets for my base gear, and I think it gets a little more interesting with the weapons. So currently I have equipped the Dragonspire Great Axe, and most of my weapons I have on this guy are either from the, not the Dragoon set. I think I got this one from the, what's it called? The Dreadnought fight. And I'll put this on every once in a while. I like the Haywire Strike. I think it's pretty cool. But I prefer the higher base weapon power, and Vengeance Strike is pretty nice to have. Sometimes I'll switch with the Dragon Axe of Doom to get the extra Turn the Tide or the Flames of Corruption. But you sacrifice about 20 damage. I'll still keep this on in case the Flames become useful or if I need to Turn the Tide. But I feel like the Dragonspire Great Axe is a little bit of an upgrade. I also have the Dracaris banner, which I don't have on this guy right now. My biggest drawback with the Dracaris banner is it's a smashy weapon, and this one's a slashy/smashy, so I can do a lot more damage, I'm pretty sure, with the other one. See, my weapon power went down about 10 by equipping the banner, so it's a little better with the Great Axe. Now, the one that I definitely switch out more than often with is the Craven Blade, just because having that extra Blade Storm is pretty nice, and I am pretty sure the benefit you get from the... Is it right here? Yeah. The benefit you get from the Blade Storm 4 is not that bad. It gives you have a higher crit chance with the Blade Storm 4, but Vengeance Strike 4 allows you to stun the enemy, which I see as a little bit more of a priority. But I say the weapons that I switch out with more are between the Dragonspire Great Axe and the Craven Blade. All of these weapons have their advantages. I think the Dracaris banner is a little bit better on a Privateer, because I think Privateers get Repel Borders 2 or Repel Borders 3. They might get Repel Borders 2. So the Dracaris banner can do a lot more damage there, or be a lot more beneficial with the Repel Borders 3 at least. Moving on to my, what's it called? Accessories. I currently have equipped the Night Lord's Veil, but I'd like to switch between a couple options. I like the Schemer's Eye Patch for the Assassin Strike. If I find that I'll normally equip this for bosses. Some enemies, if I want to make the fights just go a lot quicker, but I really like having the 9 weapon power. I also have the Black Rain Shades, and I like having this on this one, not much for the Shadow Step, but I really like the accuracy and strength, especially the strength. That's what I would like to stick with, and then I just have a regular piece of gear from the bar pack, or not the bar pack, but the Grizzly Boost pack. Moving on to my totems, I kind of also interchange a lot of these. I have the Grizzled Heart banner, and I kind of just have that there. I don't really use it because there's not really a reason to use it on my Buccaneer, and I think it's a pretty useless banner to have anyway. The undead one's a lot better. I currently have equipped the Dutchman's Garnet Charm, which I think is one of the best charms in the game that you get very early on. It gives me a sneak attack and 5% weapon mastery. And I like to interchange that with the Talisman of Sumeru, which you can get from, I believe, the Mu Manchu fight, just for that weapon power and super strike, and the Manticore Sting for the repelled borders and the 7 weapon power. I fully recommend getting the Manticore Sting. It's a very easy one to get. You get it from one of the Manticore bosses in Aquila, but it's a very easy one to get, in that the boss does not have many drops. So I fully recommend putting in the effort to get it. Moving on, well actually let me talk more about why I like to interchange. So I like the weapon mastery you get from this and the sneak attack, but sometimes you'll get to certain bosses where the sneak attack isn't, I feel like the sneak attack isn't very beneficial. A sneak attack I think is a pretty good power, but I really like the Buccaneer's power. It's a lot better, especially for the Vicious Charge, and the Super Strike is nice to interchange with because it gives you a guaranteed critical, which is very nice to interchange with Burst Fire and stuff like that. Moving on to my charms, I currently have the 7 Lamps Amulet equipped for the 8 weapon power and the Super Strike, so I keep that one as the main one, so that way I can keep the Dutchman's Garnet Charm and I don't have to interchange with the Talisman of Sumeru. It's kind of like a replacement for my Talisman. So, and then I have just some base energy gear. I've been farming the Grizzly's Beast pack just to get some more stuff for pets and stuff like that. Moving on to my rings, I currently have the Black Pearl, the Black Pearl loop, which is pretty much the exact same as the 7 Lamps amulet. And then just a regular charm to boost energy. Get the Puma mount, no special mounts in this game. And my current pet is a festive grouper I've been working on. Gives me rally and turn the tide. Nothing too special, nothing too crazy. I'm still working on pets on most of my characters. And that goes for my gear. So let's move on to the talents and powers. So most of my talents and powers are what you normally see. Nothing too crazy, nothing too special. Just an extra rally, and I prioritize giving the strength bonus to a lot of my guys. And just a few heals in case things get a little dicey. Talents are pretty basic. Slashy weapons, I think you get, Slashy and Stabby, I think you both get from the Privateer and the Swashbuckler Trainer, respectively. But nothing too crazy. A lot of stuff from random trainers. I'm trying to get Relentless 2 on this guy, but I'll get there eventually. Full 2, Elusive 2, Tough 3, Pirate 3, which I think you just get from being a Buccaneer. Loud 3 you also get, Hold the Line 3 you get, Blade Storm 3, Weapon Mastery I get from the Garnet Charm, Vengeance Strike 4, Turn the Tide 4, and that's from my pet. So pretty decent talent pool. You can do a lot of damage with this guy with that current setup. Moving on to my main 3. Currently I have quite a few companions on this guy, as you can see. But my main 3 I like to rock with are good old Peter Quint, because of the Whale's Might and then the Brutal Charge and Super Strike. Just has a very good build and definitely should be your #1 companion for your Buccaneer team. I currently have him with the Relentless 2, Blade Storm 2, Vengeance Strike 2, and Second Chance build. If I had to redo this, I'd probably just give him Vengeance Strike 3, but he does miss a lot for me. So I'm okay with this current build. Moving on, I also have Goranado in the 2nd slot, and he's just a very good brute force companion. He does a decent amount of damage, and he has very good armor, so he can just destroy everybody and not take a whole lot of damage. I currently have him with the Blade Storm 2, Relentless 2, Vengeance Strike 2 build. He comes with a Turn the Tide. It'd be nice if he had 2 or 3, but he also comes with a Guerrilla Warfare, hit all adjacent enemies, and a Vicious Charge, which helps him balance it out. And then finally, wrapping up my top 3, I have Temujin, the Horse Khan, who is really, really good. And he comes with a Buccaneer Smash, which is good against Swashbucklers and Musketeers, then a Super Strike. I also have him on the Blade Storm 2, Relentless 2, and Vengeance Strike 3 build. He comes with Turn the Tide 2, which is a lot better than Turn the Tide 1, obviously, as you can see. But those are my current 3. Sometimes I'll change up with these other Buccaneers that I have up here. But other than that, I am good with this build. Now, there's a lot of improvement that could be done, a lot of different preferences depending on the player, but I really like how I have this guy set up right now. So, I'll be uploading another video later going over fully the companions I have on this guy, but right now I really like the build, and I'd like to hear y'all's opinion on it. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know, and leave a like. It is always appreciated, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.